Stand by to launch Fan Stream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Fan Stream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, a hearty good morning to you on this Friday before the Buccaneers play for the NFC South title against the stinking Panthers, if we could call them. They do stink. They're not very good. But I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit harder than people think. The Bolts get a big win last night in a place where they have not won in a long time. We got some college football to talk about with the national championship game coming up. It might even talk some NBA today. It was incredible games last night. I'll say good morning to you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Happy Friday, the final football Friday of the regular season.
Right.
And cross your fingers that it's not really the last football Friday for the Buccaneers on this show, as it very well could be.
Man, this is it's really interesting. By the way, Dan Lucas will join us at 10:30 today. We invite your comments. We'll go back and forth with you guys today. So jump on in on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to jump in the comments, and we'll interact with you as well. This is, this season narrative is just could be so dramatically different, depending on what happens these last 2 weeks. Obviously, the Saints game was a debacle. We talked about that all week. What an incredibly poor performance from the coaches and the players, which does not portend well for this week, in my opinion. But you win this week, you get in, and then, who knows what happens in the playoffs? Who knows what happens in the playoffs? But the game last week was just so sobering that you any confidence or any edge that this team had developed just kind of feels like it just went and it's gone. But, go out in the first, God forbid you drive it down the field and get a touchdown on the second worst scoring defense in the NFL. The Panthers are weird. Their overall defensive numbers are not terrible, but their scoring defense is terrible. Because I guess their offense has just been god-awful, worst in the league. So, yeah, it's an interesting game. And then I went back and looked at the first game, and that game was a lot closer than it needed to be. A lot closer than it needed to be. Now, remember, in that game, Levante David didn't play. Devin White didn't play, whatever. They didn't have any linebackers to play. Ryan Neal ended up playing, and Chuba Hubbard went for 102 and a couple of touchdowns. They pretty much ran the ball whenever they wanted to run the ball. I don't think it'll be that easy this week with Levante David back. Devin White regressed to his usual self last week. Not a shock. I don't even know if I would. I don't even want to go down the Devin White rabbit hole at this point. But they all need to step up and win this game and go into the playoffs with some urgency. And just imagine having a home playoff game against the Eagles, a team that is in a complete tailspin. I mean, let's go.
Yeah. I tell you what, I don't think I'm overstating this. I think this is the most important game of Todd Bowles' definitely his Bucs coaching career.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And how things change, because I'm fully under the belief that if the Bucs, squander this opportunity to win the division after going into the final two games, just needing one win against the Saints and the Panthers, the worst team in the NFL. If they don't get it done, I would fully expect Todd Bowles to, get the pink slip probably on Monday. And I don't think the Glazers would accept the mediocrity at this point. And everything that would have happened that was good at the end of the year, the 4-game win streak to get them here, would be undone if you can't finish it off. So we're going to find out, how much these players, because we've been talking a lot about how the players are playing for Todd Bowles and he's got the room and everything. I guess we're really going to find that out this Sunday in Carolina, because there's no excuses for this. And I don't care if Kyle Trask has to play quarterback. I don't care if Baker has to play hurt. You are better than this team. Yeah. Okay. And I'll remind you, not only are the Panthers 2-14, but you talk about drama and you talk about dysfunction. I mean, we got their team owners throwing drinks on players, getting fined. Bryce Young is reached his boiling point with the offensive line after getting sacked 6 times last week. He's throwing tablets on the ground, which you never thought you'd see from a guy like Bryce Young. Lost his composure. It's all right there for the Bucs to take it. Yeah. But, the Bucs, it's crazy. We're 16 games in, and you just don't know which Bucs team you're going to get on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's been a hallmark of Todd Bowles, right? Mediocrity. Good 1 week, and they went on a 4-game win streak, but lose 5 or 6 of 7, win 4. It's there's no consistency. There's no, they started to develop a little bit of an identity, and then they just get, completely destroyed by the Saints in a game where more than anything, there was no emotion, no energy, no focus in this game whatsoever. And that's what, in a game where you should be at your best. I said this yesterday. It started in the beginning of the week when you beat Jacksonville and you're like, oh, victory Monday. While, meanwhile, the Saints we're going to go full pads on Wednesday. That should have been, no, there's no victory Monday. It's Saints week. It's win the division week here at home. Let's get our ass into work tomorrow and start preparing for the Saints. But that wasn't, that's not how Todd Bowles set the tone. It was, go home for a couple of days, lose your edge, and, come back and be flat all week. I don't know if they were flat all week in practice, but, they were certainly flat for a game where they should not have been. And that worries you going into this game. Like, what's to tell you that they're going to get up for this game? Tristan Wirfs tried to rally the troops at halftime last week with a, let's get off our ass speech. Didn't seem like it made much difference. The Bucs didn't do anything until, the game was well in hand for the Saints. So, yeah, it's how can you have confidence in this team going into this game when Carolina went toe-to-toe with them at Raymond James Stadium a month ago? That was a 21-18 game that could have gone either way.
Yeah, and in the common theme there, in the games that the Bucs have played close and the games that they've lost, it's when they don't win the turnover battle or when the turnover battle's even. Like, getting turnovers, this defense is so easy to beat if they're not creating turnovers. I think we've learned that throughout the season. So they're going to have to force turnovers. They're going to have to force Bryce Young to throw them a few. Seriously. Because 21-18 last time out, and it was really Chuba Hubbard that kept him in that game. Yeah. Now, let's be fair, Levante David did not play in that game against Carolina, and Levante's been playing his ass off, which doesn't seem to get recognition around the league anymore, but we're used to that at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
But he's been fantastic, so I like my chances there. Levante, Levante David, he wants to make the playoffs. This could be it for him. You never know. Right. He wants to make the playoffs, so he's going to be up for this. Winfield, obviously, coming off the snub of the century, he should be motivated for this one. So I expect him to be better than he was last week, which was his worst game of the season. So, and the Panthers, if you looked at their injury report, it's like 20 names deep.
Yeah.
This team is like, I feel like this team is like just like begging to get the season over with.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Just don't give them any, just end it. Don't give them any life whatsoever.
Yeah, and get out early. There's going to be nobody there. The fans have stopped coming to the games. So there's going to be hardly any home field advantage for the Panthers whatsoever. They'll be looking for a reason to lay down. And don't give them a reason to have hope and win the last game. Now, obviously, it doesn't matter for their draft position whether they win or lose because they don't have their first pick anyway. I guess it matters for later on in the draft. But so it's not like they're tanking to get a draft pick. Then, which, by the way, just puts them in such a terrible position. I mean, last year when they made that trade for Bryce Young, I'm like, you're giving up what to get what? Really? Okay, good for you. Don't take C.J. Stroud. Fantastic for you.
It's probably a discussion for another day, but the Bucs could literally be an 8-9 win team for the next 2 years.
Yeah,
even after this one, and I still would like their chances to win the division because all the other 3 teams are still in dysfunction mode.
That's right, they are. And it doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. Of course, it could flip quickly. And we're going to talk a little bit about this later in the show, the quarterback carousel in the NFL, which, of course, I think the Falcons will definitely be involved. They're going to, they're either going to draft a quarterback or go get Justin Fields, which seems to be, kind of picking up steam. I don't know what the Bears are going to do, but they'll probably screw it up.
That's an obvious choice at this point.
You think?
I don't think it's even a big decision. You get to reset your quarterback room for another 4 or 5 years, and you get to add talent. Like, you have to ask yourself, can you see Justin Fields taking the Bears just to the playoffs or winning a Super Bowl? Can you confidently say that?
He's played well of late, and he's, he put up some highlight reel stuff. I think there's something in there. Do you want to start over with a Caleb Williams, which is absolutely no guarantee that he's going to be a great player? I don't think he's a great leader.
I have certain questions about him. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like you probably should reset your quarterback, like the money wise. I think it's a smart move.
But it's also, I mean, and it's kind of a conundrum for them with the first overall pick. They could sell that pick for 3 first
True.
rounds. So, and they also have the 10th pick, right? So you could get 3 first round picks in this draft. If you give up, you could get another quarterback later on. It's either stay with Justin Fields, draft a quarterback later on, but go get Marvin Harrison, offensive lineman. You can remake your entire roster just by. I think that's the way to. That's kind of the Houston Texans model. Go out and trade, get those assets and get your edge rusher.
To be fair, I don't think the gap between Caleb Williams and the other 3 quarterbacks is as large as people think.
I agree.
I don't think it's set in stone that Caleb Williams is going to have the best career of all of them.
Yeah, I question his leadership skills. I think Drake May is incredibly talented. And
I think the other 2 guys, Daniels and Penix, they should get a lot more buzz in the top 10 than I think they are right now.
I know teams are afraid of Penix's knees, and he played 6 years in college. I think that's a bonus. But the way he throws the football just reminds me so much of Joe Burrow from a left-handed side. He's a phenomenal passer of the football, and that's just going to translate every time to the NFL. He throws with so much anticipation. Very interesting article. Like Matt Baker wrote it in the Times about how Michael Penix got out of the state of Florida, and it was like 3 or 4 times. FSU, the great Willie Taggart, thought he was going to get Emory Jones, and went all in on Emory Jones, and we don't need Michael Penix. And
how about the fact that he was committed to Tennessee, and then Jeremy Pruitt took over and was like, "Nah, I don't see it."
Nah, don't see it. Yeah, and then he goes to Indiana. Tom Allen brings his entire staff down to woo him. He's like, okay, well, that's definitely where they want me. They don't want me to FSU. They don't Florida. I mean, think about it. Emory Jones at Florida and Florida screwed Michael Penix's chances at Florida and Florida State. And Lord knows what Miami's doing at quarterback. Do they even have a quarterback now? I mean, they were hoping for Cam Ward. He's going to the NFL. Van Dyke is gone. He transferred out. I mean, what are they doing at quarterback? They're still looking for a quarterback. So I'm sure they'll come up with lots of NIL money, but they're kind of in a conundrum. But there, Michael Penix gets out of the state of Florida like 3 or 4 different times. They had a chance to go get him, and nobody did. That's just it just goes to show you that there's so many of these great young players, and you never know who they are. You never know if they're sitting on the bench. You never know if they're the backup quarterback. You never know if it's a freshman coming. You just don't know until they get an opportunity to play. And Michael Penix got an opportunity at Indiana, was really good. And then when they opened up the offense with Washington and with Kalen DeBoer, the coach there, and his former head coach or offensive coordinator, he just thrived. And with those receivers they have and an offensive line, it's a perfect position for him. So good for him. Great to see him. And I know Washington's a 4.5 point underdog. I love the Huskies.
We're doing this again. They haven't been like a favorite like any of their big games all year.
Right.
And they just keep on winning because we don't play football on a Vegas spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we're going to hear from Dave Canales here in a second vis-a-vis Baker Mayfield. Baker did practice yesterday, and Canales said that he did his 3rd down period and ripped a bunch of throws and was accurate. So it looks like he can throw, and if he can throw, he's going to play. You just worry about him taking another shot from Derek Brown, getting by Aaron Stinney or whoever. And
I'm worried. I'm a little worried there about about Stinney. I'm not going to lie. Stinney held the 4th down for a while.
I think he's hurt.
Last few games, he's taken a step back, and there's people that are calling for Matt Filer to get back in there. I don't know. I don't know if there's a great solution. The Bucs will be definitely addressing
Nick Leverett in there, for God's sakes.
Yeah, the Bucs will definitely be addressing those positions, that and center in the offseason. Don't get it twisted. But it concerns me a little bit, and especially because the running game, the running game the last 2 games, after we thought it was turning a bit of a corner,
right,
has just been horrendous. Yeah. And not really because of Rashad White. It's just because the run blocking has been awful. So,
well, Greg Auman tweeted out something I thought was real interesting, and I retweeted it. The Bucs, it's a graphic about how many times teams do the predictable run pass. and first down, second down, run, pass. And the Bucs are like by far and away the worst at it. Now, interestingly enough, their third down conversion rate is over 50%. And even when they're super predictable on first and second down, which is just, that's just no reason for doing that.
Even when they're like, when they get to like 3rd and 3, I think they're like, Baker's like the best quarterback in the league, I think.
Yeah.
When it's 3rd and 3 or fewer. But they play so much though, like 3rd and long though.
Yeah, lots. And so they, and that's just, you don't need to do that. For God's sake, stop running the ball, run, pass. It's so freaking predictable. And it just feels, I don't know if that's Canales or Bowles or whatever, but my God, I mean, it's like high school. Stop it. Throw the damn ball on first down and loosen them up. And this is what scares me about this particular week is that Todd Bowles' MO is to play, not to lose, right? You got a game, you're favored. Carolina's just, punching the clock to get the hell out of the season. You figured you just go in there, don't make mistakes, play soft zone, don't do any, don't blitz, don't give up a cheapie. That just feels like his game plan, right? In a game like this. And you do that, you're going to get beat. You're going to get freaking beat.
The game plan, and this should be true for every game, but especially against Carolina, is get Mike Evans the football because
damn right.
I looked today, his numbers against Carolina, he's had more success against them than any other team that he's ever faced. 99 receptions for almost 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. If you recall in that first meeting, he had the 77-yard catch and run, which got their offense going. Yeah. And then last year, in that last game of the season, I think it was against Carolina, or the week 17 rather, to clinch the division. Remember, Mike went off for 10 catches for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns against this Carolina team. So he eats against Carolina, and it's a secondary that's nothing to write home about and is banged up. So aggressive, I think, is the word we would probably use. It's been the theme of the year. That's been the difference when the Bucs win and when they lose. You've got to find ways to get Mike Evans the football. Zero excuses.
Yeah. And, just let it, even if he's double covered, let him make a difference. Let him make a play. Usually when guys are double covered, by the way, you've got a safety over the top. At the point of impact, so to speak, it's only going to be one guy, right? So you got to let him go up for those 50-50 balls, which are normally 75-25 balls when it's to Mike Evans. So let him eat, let him go. Just even if it's double coverage. I'm not saying force it in there, but to give him opportunities to make plays. And I 100% agree with you. If you don't, and they were very aggressive defensively against Bryce Young in the first game, very aggressively. They blitzed a lot and they got home. They hit him. I think they got 5 sacks against him, 5 or 6 sacks.
4 sacks, 4 sacks total, but there was a lot of pressure though.
A lot of pressure. They probably hit him another 10 times. Got to do the same thing this game. But it's just, this is what scares me is, Bowles playing not to lose. Some of the comments coming in, I think, Mark Davis, the Wander Franco story is tragic. Yeah, we're going to get to that a little bit later on in the show. Will Light be sent packing is the question. If they lose this game, is Jason Light in trouble? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. I think with what he did with this roster this year, with 75 million dead cap, I think the roster was the first 3 draft picks: Kalijah Cansey, Cody Mock, Yaya Diaby look like pretty good players.
And even last year's class is trending up because, not exactly Logan Hall, but Luke Geddes looks like your right tackle solution.
Right.
Rashad's been better, and we found a way to get him involved. And even Zion McCollum. Yeah. I think he's your second best cover corner on the team right now.
I agree.
I think he should play more than Jamel Dean. So I think the success of the last 2 draft classes has helped. And when you win a Super Bowl, that tends to buy you time.
Yeah, it does. And more than that, the relationship between the Glazers and Jason Light is really
and if Jason Light was on the free agent market tomorrow as a GM, there'd be a line of teams calling for his services. Like the Bucs have had a lot of dysfunction in that room for a while, but between Jason Light, John Spytek, and Mike Greenberg, fantastic. Yeah, they've done a great job. They really have. And they're set the team up to return, and they're going to be able to add free agents, retain Mike Evans, Antoine Winfield, Baker Mayfield if they want to, which I think they will. So they're set up next year to be able to add some free agents and keep the people that they want to keep. I know Devin White's out the door, but that's fine with me.
Greg DeCruz, good morning to Costa Rica there, Greg. I believe Bowles has to win a home playoff game. The product has been putrid at home. That's for sure. And I agree with you. I think he has to win a home playoff game to stay because of what we've seen in the regular season. Last week is something that's going to really, really stain his resume, I think. Not just the fact that you lose a game, but how you lost it. Greg says the Brady 2-year season ticket holders will be gone next year. How do you bring back fans if you can't win big games at home? It's a great point. You got to play better at home. I went as a fan last week with my two new stepchildren and the lovely Ashley, my fiance. And, they're like, oh my God, this is boring. I mean, anybody who paid for that game, they'll be like, that was bad. That was bad. Thanks to the Bucs, we got down on the field before the game. Kids absolutely loved that. Thank you, Brian Ford. And it was, and that was an awesome, it was just a great atmosphere. Like people were ready. The fans were ready. They were ready to just, explode. And you got nothing to cheer about for 3 quarters. I mean, zero. That's bad. If you're sitting in the owner's box and you're watching that, you're just like, Jesus, this team has, in a game like this, we have no fire, no nothing. That's bad. That really reflects poorly on the head coach. Bucs Basement says, listen, for all we know, Kyle Trask could be the next Nick Foles, and Todd Bowles has to have the balls to do the right thing. Otherwise, he's putting an injured player in more danger. It's true. This is going to be a tough call for them. Evidently Baker was good yesterday, at least in terms of throwing the football. So if he can throw and he can move around, you start him. It's just as simple as that. You're not going to put Trask in there.
He has to play. He has to play. I would just say, like, a lot of people are talking about Trask again this week, and I get it because of Baker's injury. I just think the Bucs have told you, without necessarily saying it out loud, how they feel about Kyle Trask at this point. I mean, even in the Jacksonville game where there were so many chances they could have pulled Baker for injury reasons, and they didn't, and he kept taking hits, which I thought was stupid. They didn't put Trask in. I think they just have no interest in seeing it, I don't think. It's kind of how I feel about it. So I think if Baker, even if he's 70%, because I know there's a comment in here about Trask being better than a 70% Baker, I don't know if that's true. I know the Bucs really don't care. Baker's going to play that game if he can.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you get 75% Baker, that's kind of my demarcation line. You start him in that situation because obviously, and I have confidence in Trask. I think Kyle Trask should be able to go out and win this game.
Yeah, even if Trask had to play, you still need to win that football game. I don't think I don't think it's a built-in excuse for Todd Bowles. Like, oh well, we had to use Trask in this game. I don't care. Carolina's 2-14.
No. If you have not developed your backup quarterback to the point where he can't come in and beat a Carolina team, then that's a bad coaching staff. You're not doing your job. You have to have that guy ready to play. And, that's as simple as that. You just can't lose this game. You can't lose. Losing these last 2 games will tell you everything you need to know about the culture and the coaching staff. And it's just, you cannot continue to put that out there. The fans won't show up, as who was it that said that? Bucs Basement. The fans won't show up. And why should you? Why should you? If your coach can't get your team ready to play in those games, then why? There's got to be better people out there. Like that. I mean, you could say, well, can Todd Bowles continue to go 9-8? Yeah, he sure can. Absolutely, he can give you 9-8. All every season. Is that what you really want? Is that what you aspire to? No. Cigar City Noel says that if I don't want to hear that. If they say, well, Baker couldn't play and that they lost that last game, all the more reason you should have won the Saints game. You had to go in there with a sense of urgency. All right, let's get to Dave Canales from yesterday before we hit Dan Lucas. Here's Dave Canales talking a little bit about Baker and some about the last game and what went wrong and how they have to fix it.
I had the forecast a little bit. It's screwed up today, so got cold on me. How we doing?
Coach, it looked like the Saints were making a
Is that coming out real quick? Is that coming out over? Can y'all hear it?
Yeah, it stops now. It's stopping now, but I did.
Yeah, I stopped it because it was like coming out of my in here. So if you're a commentator, let me know if you can hear Canales here.
Yeah, I can hear it. You guys hear it?
changes in coverage. Was that the case?
Yeah, they made it challenging. So I got a lot of respect for Dennis Allen. He had a great game plan against us. And I don't want to give him all the credit, for just some of the execution and things we didn't get done in the game. We didn't play our type of football that we've been playing for the last month. The balance stuff, the execution, the fundamental things that just weren't there on the day. And then it got away from us. And at a certain point, we just had to go, okay, let's switch modes and let's go attack and see if we can get ourselves back in the game.
A lot of the players were saying after the game that they just felt flat.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sense that early on, that it was just a lack of energy and intensity?
Yeah, I think I could feel that for sure. But even in those types of games, like what do we rely on? Our basics, the assignments, the execution. Those are things that just were kind of uncharacteristic for the way we've been playing football for the last couple of weeks, and so just really a timely wake-up call for our guys. Like, we can't just show up and expect these things to happen for us. It takes a lot of intentionality. Even with all the holiday season and all that, whatever that is, we have to maintain our focus.
How do you approach these all or nothing type games, right? Where there's a lot at stake.
Oh, yeah.
Jobs are at stake. I mean, there's so much, right?
Yeah.
And there is no, like, you guys have been kind of living this life for a while. Last week, you did have a little house money.
Yeah.
Now it's all gone. So how do you prevent yourself, others, from making it maybe bigger, or should it be that big?
Yeah, it's the messaging right from the beginning. Like, every single game is big, and whether it's a loss in the first 4 weeks, in the middle of the season, or at the end, like, all of them matter. And I think not just us in this situation. I'm really proud of the fact that we put ourselves in a win and you're in type of situation over the last month. But there's a lot of teams playing for other things like the top seed, and home field advantage and those types of things too, where the stakes are high. For them being able to play home or travel. And so we try to prep the guys that way. Every game is a championship opportunity. And for sure, that goes without saying this week. This is it. This is a championship moment for us, for our group as a whole, and for us to just come back, get right back to the basics, and try to put aside any type of other side story other than, guys, let's look at brass tacks here. Let's look at our footwork, our technique, the depths of routes, the throws, all of those types of things that really didn't happen for us last week, and see if we can get back right on track to what we were doing before that.
Are you spending more time with Kyle these next couple of days, even if Baker starts, and with the situation with the ribs, how's that working out?
Oh, for sure. I mean, so we have a very interactive way that we teach in our quarterback room with our offense. So throughout the whole thing, whether it's Kyle or John, we have those conversations. We've been working, but for sure this week is like, we got to see what happens here with Baker, as we progress through the week, and Kyle's ready, and he's been working, in between drills throughout the whole season. Thad takes him and they go through the whole script to make sure he gets those reps, and so those are going to be really important as we go into this week.
And just one follow-up, how did Baker look to you today?
He had a third down period, took all the reps in a nice third down period, and he threw some accurate balls. He looked pretty good, so again, I don't want to give too much about, the plan and the style of what we're going to do, specifically. But as far as throwing, like, he looked functional today. He ripped a couple of balls down the field and looked okay.
All right, that's Dave Canales right there. Wanted to get to that point where he talked about Baker practicing, and we can, kind of read between the lines there as to how how convincing he was. That I kind of felt like there were a couple tells there that maybe Dave was fudging a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see how good he's going to be. All right, we're going to take a quick break, 3-minute break. When we come back, Dan Lucas is going to join us from WFLA. We'll talk Bucs. We'll talk some Rays and Wander Franco, and probably a little bit of college football as well. So quick break. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com, the local law firm that will give you that personal attention you so richly deserve. Back in 3. JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity.
at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. It will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now, but JP, rates are at 8%. That's true, but I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high sixes. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero, because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio, and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Get your testosterone, nutrition, and immune system right. Go to BAMMC.com to get your appointment now. All right, let's welcome in our good friend from WFLA News Channel 8, Dan Lucas, joining us here. What's up, Dano? How are you, my friend?
Good morning, guys. Nick, it's great to see you. Happy New Year, brother.
Absolutely. Great to see you. Happy New Year as well. They couldn't keep me down for too long, Dan. They couldn't keep me down.
I love it. I love everybody on the show, but when the band is back together,
yes,
it just feels right. I feel like we should put on a $500 show at the Sphere when we're doing this, like Bono.
I don't know if they're paying that. I don't know if they're paying that much. Maybe for the light show, but right. We're good. I don't know if we're that good. All right. So before, I know you want to, talk about Stephen Hawking, and that's your main thing you want to hit there today. But we'll save that till the end.
It's a logistics question, JP.
Indeed, it is. We all want to know. How's that working? But this is, it's not many times we get to cover a game. Are you going to Carolina, by the way? News Channel 8 going to Carolina?
We will not. We will not be there, unfortunately. Okay. We're still at the end of our
budgeting year. Yeah.
We got the belt tight. Yeah, exactly. But last time I checked, it is the first week of the first quarter of the new year. I mean,
that's right.
But as you always say in local sports, especially in this country, there is no such thing as New Year. You're in the middle of the year still.
Exactly.
And the new year for us is in July, but you can't convince the people why that makes sense.
I don't get it, but it's only the biggest game in Bucs football for probably the last 2 years. It's this is a game that you can't lose. I mean, especially after last week. But I was nervous about the Saints game, and I'm nervous about this one as well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm I'm a little concerned about this game, particularly with the Baker status, because I feel like Monday is going to be one end of the spectrum or the other. This is going to be full till playoff run, or this could be a dark time here, and we could be going through some changes.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily what changes, are quick fixes versus long term, or if they go on a playoff run, if that's avoiding the inevitable down the road where changes need to be made for the long term stability. So there's so much at stake on a win or a loss. I'm leaning towards they win this game, but I'm wondering if Baker finishes this game. That's the problem, and I would hope, you would think from the Bucs perspective, that if they can get out to a lead and at least look like they're going to handle their business, then he could come out of the game as a cautionary thing. But I mean, he's one shot from not being available against probably going to be the Eagles next week. So it's there's a lot at stake, and that's why we're watching this practices this week. Watching him walk around in a hoodie means so much, because I don't know how I can play that position feeling like that. I've hurt my ribs once, and I couldn't even change channels with the remote. I mean, it was
couldn't eat breakfast. For God's
exactly.
sakes. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You want me to do what? You want me to take a shower right now? I can't do that. No way. So he's going to go play quarterback.
You can't move without making that just guttural noises. It's just like, oh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So luckily, it won't be either one of us playing quarterback. But that's the conundrum, right? At what point do you go to Trask? Is Baker 75%, 50%? You should be able to win this game with Kyle Trask as your starting quarterback. I mean, if you're a playoff team, you should be able to do that, right?
I think you should. If Baker comes out and, let's say, the first two series get a hit on the quarterback aside, let's say he just does not look right. At that point, when do you consider him a liability for winning this game? Can Trask come in and kind of will this team through a game, or some type of gut check performance where they're going to eke their way through it with Kyle Trask, rather than have a disaster strike if you give an entire first half if Baker's not right? That's the concern for me. And I think the first couple of series are critical in that sense. But based on what we saw last week against New Orleans, Baker was healthy, obviously. How do you determine what's Baker and what's not Baker if they get off to a slow start?
In the hypothetical scenario where Trask has to play, and let's just say for this scenario's sake that it's a disaster and it's just not working out for him and they lose the football game, as it relates to Todd Bowles' job, kind of what it's going to look like here after this game, do you think that there would be a built-in excuse for Todd if Kyle Trask just completely bombs and they lose this game, or do you think that does not change things much for his future?
I would have to think that the expectations are equal with Trask in there. I know the quarterback. You just go back to the summer. I know the quarterback competition was kind of not a faux competition, if you will, but I think Trask showed himself in the preseason pretty well with guys, especially like Trey Palmer. Those guys had a good rapport. I just don't know how many meaningful reps he's really getting. That he can be in game speed, at NFL game speed, with so much on the line. I would have to think that the theory of the Bucs offense all along has been get it to the playmakers. Don't win the game yourself. Get it to the playmakers. And if Trask has to go into the game, you better just. I don't want to see a ball beyond 20 yards. just get it. Do what you have to do to get little 8-yard clips, and try and do it that way. That's the only way this can happen. I don't know if. What's going to happen Monday if they lose this game with Trask, because that's your invitation to make wholesale changes if you're going to make them.
Dan Lucas joining us here. This is why last week's game, Dan, was so disappointing, and why you don't go into a game last week going, well, we got 2 shots at it. If we don't get it done today, we'll do it next week, because now your quarterback is hurt and you could be at a disadvantage. And that's I think last week, and I know for a fact that the Glazers have not been enamored by what Todd Bowles has done this season. They want to see marked improvement, and that means winning a playoff game. And if that doesn't happen, I think he's gone. That's just my opinion. But it's so much is to be told this week and next. And if he wins that playoff game, then I think he secures his job. But it's because of what happened last week that just gives you tremendous pause. Is he ever going to be a great coach, or is it just going to be mediocre? And I think, unfortunately, it's the second one.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what's going on with what happened with the Chargers, right?
Right.
You carry it, you preserve your job, and then you get into the next season. Like I said, it delayed the inevitable, and then this season became even more of a disaster for the Chargers. But I think it goes hand in hand with the fact that everybody in the organization was all in 2 years ago or 3 years ago now when they brought back the team for 2021, knowing that 2023 was going to be what it is financially. And I think there's a lot of people responsible for that. Now I have to say the Glazers are responsible for that as well, because this was forecasted. This was predicted. This was a situation they knew was coming. They were trying to go back to back. And in doing so, they were going to keep everybody together. And in 2023, they were going to pay the price, knowing it. And so they've done that. I think the team has exceeded what they thought they could do. That would be a nod towards Todd Bowles if you were going to look at it that way. But Jason Light was involved in that. The Glazers were involved in that.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a no matter what happens, if Bowles is here or not, this offseason is going to be interesting. It's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
There's going to be a couple of departures, I think, because they I feel like this team is on the cusp. They impressed me this year. What they've done. I thought they'd get 5 wins maybe, and they're in this position at least. So you got to be careful if you're going to make wholesale changes based on how fragile it is right now. And I guess they come out of it a little bit next year, money wise, not too much.
Oh yeah, I think significantly. I think they have like $75 million in cap space next year.
Okay,
but a lot of that's going to get eaten up by Evans and Winfield. Those are musts, and Baker probably, which is kind of my next question. Would you bring Baker back, or you need to see this last game and maybe a playoff game?
I think they've played themselves out of the draft.
I
think they've played themselves. If you're going to truly find a franchise guy and develop them, what kind of a message does this send to Kyle Trask?
Yeah.
Sorry. If you want to if you want to search the free agent market and Baker's on that list, who's the best available?
Right.
For the remember, part of the reason last year they couldn't really make a push for Derek Carr was the salary cap. So they got Baker on the bargain price, and this was a make it show me type of situation, and he did. So. Something is working with Baker and Dave Canales. That's why I'm hesitant about the coaching staff, because I think Canales is onto something with Baker and the guys that he has around him that they can develop a little bit more in year 2 under his system.
Yeah. It's so weird. When you can look at it so many different ways, right? If Todd Bowles, like you said, it's like, look at all the dead cap money. I think I saw a stat where any team with more than 60 million in dead cap has never won more than 3 games, and he's on the cusp of winning a division. But again, crappy division, like really bad division, historically bad 2 years in a row division. So it's just, but then also you look at the way the team plays flat in a huge game. It's like, it just, I don't know. And then you look at Baker. Okay, he's had a great season. They're 21st in scoring. It's not great. Is that all on Baker? Hell no. So it's just like, and do you say, hey, who's going to be available at 19? Will Cam Ward be available at 19? Wow, that guy's got some real tools. Do we want to just scrap it all and go with a young kid and rebuild? I just, there's so many different ways you can go here. And my gut feeling is I think you stick with Baker. if you can get him on a Geno Smith, 3 years, 75, and then I think you draft a quarterback. I think you draft somebody in this deep quarterback draft that, might work out as a second round or third round pick. We've seen it happen, folks. It's not just first rounders. You can find guys. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the Baker, what they call in hockey, a bridge deal.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah.
Baker's not stupid, but he might have choices himself in this offseason. So I think there might be a little bit of I think there might dare I call it a bidding war. I don't know, but he might have options that might cost the Bucs a couple more dollars. So that's something to consider. And I do believe in, and if you find a guy who can fit your system and you can develop him, that it can work. But that requires patience. And as you can see this year we said it was going to require patience, and the fans are antsy. So I don't know. I don't know what. Yeah, if you threw that kid out there next year, completely expecting to take his lumps, I don't know how that would go over. Especially if Todd Bowles is returning, and his job's on the line. If he comes back next year, his job is on the line from day one next year.
Yeah.
So that's where that is. That's how delicate that is.
I agree.
Doesn't it feel like, though, like, because I was even looking at the draft order as y'all were talking about this, like, if the Bucs lose this game, they'll actually end up picking somewhere between like 10 and 15, which started getting the gears going in my head where you might be in Michael Penix territory if he falls. And you talk about the connection to Tampa. I mean, it's built in right there, but I would
how could you pass on him?
Right, and that makes it difficult. That makes it difficult, but if we're being honest, I think the Bucs' biggest need is probably getting another edge guy in there.
Mm-hmm.
And would you
that
agree
pick
with
is where that pick is where those guys fall.
Right, and it feels like it's better. Like you would,
yeah.
if you get that pick, you take the premium edge rusher there.
Yeah,
I think so, because I think I don't know what Shaquille Barrett's future is going to be, and so you're going to have to get that side solidified. They still don't know what they have with Tryon Shoyinka.
I know what they have.
They've hit home runs. They've hit home runs with.
It's my most used emoji on my text.
Yaya has helped them help their problem tremendously. So you got to compliment that guy, and they're
great third round pick.
Sure.
Great third round line. Yeah,
absolutely.
So
I think the entire linebacking line is going to be a question mark in the offseason, all the way from left to right. Interior guys, obviously with Devin White's contract, Levante, what is his future?
I bring him back.
Listen, man, I would
get a raise.
I would 1 year deal that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Until he dies.
Hand him the paperwork on the plane ride home Sunday. Here you go, brother. Come back next year. Yeah.
God, what a great season he's had. We have not talked enough about him. And you turn on the tape. I was watching the All 22 yesterday, watching him fly around and watch 45 go back to doing what he does, get blocked every play. You can't get off a block.
He's the constant. Like, I will die on the hill that he has had a Hall of Fame career.
I agree.
Every bit the same that like a Bobby Wagner has had. And Bobby Wagner is still stealing accolades from him to this day.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
squeaky wheel gets the grease, and he's just such a quiet dude. And you look at his numbers, and they're off the charts. They're every bit as good as Luke Kuechly, and he's like first ballot guy, right? But Levante's numbers are just as good, if not better. And we watched him play, and we've seen him do it. But he, it's just one of those things. You don't get enough Pro Bowls, right? And what can you say about the Pro Bowl when Buda Baker's going?
Yeah. Sore subject.
God.
Yeah, I think exactly. It's a sore subject this week. Don't get the Pro Bowls.
You got the Bucs, or are they winning this weekend?
I think they win. I think they pull it out. I think Carolina's that bad. I think that Carolina, finds a way to screw it up. I think it's a close game, though. I don't like the scenario with Baker and the quarterbacks. This is a 20 to 19 or 20 to 18 written all over it for me. So, but they just got to win. The problem is with Baker, you're not just concerned about getting into this game and out of this game. You have to look ahead and consider what's in his best interest for 1 week later.
Yeah.
Presuming that they're in this game to win it. So it's going to be interesting in a tight game in the second half. Let's say Baker's plodding along here, but then he's not looking right. It's going to be interesting to see what they do because there is no next week without winning this Sunday. So you kind of have to go as if there's no tomorrow. It's like putting that pitcher out there. I don't want to bring this guy in Game 6, but there is no Game 7 without.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
So we'll see.
It's gonna be great drama. 1:00 on Sunday. Tune in. I will. It's gonna be fun. All right. I've been looking at this thing on Twitter. I'm gonna try to play this for you guys, and see if you can see it, and just kind of listen to the. Do you see this? That's Wander Franco in cuffs. And people yelling questions at him. I mean, God, I mean, we knew this was coming, but holy hell, that's not a good look. I mean,
morning and just it's the walk from being moved from from the jail to the court. This right. You know what I saw in this video? Obviously, a guy who's in some trouble here, but I also looked at this from the Rays' perspective, and they've been kind of standing by, waiting to see what's going to develop before they figure out their shortstop situation. Taylor Wall's coming off surgery, and when I saw this video today, I'm like, you got to cut bait. You got to do something. I mean, camp pitchers and catchers are in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. The Rays have always been a very good shortstop team.
Yeah.
And right now, I can't name a guy who can go in there on opening day healthy, at least with respect to Walls, and help this ball club. Wander Franco is not playing baseball again. Not here, not in this country. Not what I saw this morning.
No, it's just for the Rays, probably more than any franchise, right? You just can't have this happen. This guy is the cornerstone of your franchise. He's cheap, at least for the next few years, right? He's a superstar. You've developed him since he was 16 years old. And Dan, I talked about this yesterday, and I'm interested to hear what you think on this. I'm not there in the clubhouse. I don't see what goes on behind the scenes in terms of mentoring players and what have you. But it just seems to me that, is there some culpability for the Rays here? Wander has shown a lot of immaturity from the very get-go with the lavish spending and, losing $200,000 worth of jewelry, leaving it in your car. It's just, and I just kind of feel, then he's a bad teammate and he's getting suspended. It's like
right.
I mean, it's on him. I mean, it's on him. A lot of it obviously is on him. Most of it, it's his behavior. You're responsible for your behavior. But how much blame do you put on the organization to not surround him maybe with some more mentor type players and have guys in the dressing room that are, have the gravitas to take him under his wing and say, come on, kid, learn how to be a professional here.
It's funny you mentioned that. He's, when you go in the Rays clubhouse, the far back corner where Longoria's locker used to be, there's 4 or 5 lockers right in that corner and then around the next corner, and most of the guys from the Dominican are all in that area. And they're very tight, but you were lacking that older father figure, the older veteran to kind of to just not so much police these guys, but just relate to them. I go back way back in the day to the Cliff Floyd team. He was the guy who would put his arm around Longo, just hang out with the guy, and at least kept him in that straight path. But I don't know if things have been said to Wander by his friends and teammates here in the Bay Area, and especially in that clubhouse. I do know that he had a run-in with Kevin Cash, as we know, and wound up on the bench, and that's violations of baseball code. But this is far beyond the violations of baseball code. I just, people have personal lives out of work, and certain people, they make bad choices. This is clearly a bad one that became. It was not only one bad choice, but then became a second one to try and cover that one, and now you're paying things out to try and squash it. And in one social media post, your idea blew up, and I guess the victim's mom is also criminally involved in now. So it's just a complete mess. I'll guarantee you, as he sits right now, wherever he is in a holding area, he has just got to be, I would have to presume, full of regret.
Yes.
And hoping that the system will do something for him. But money ain't going to buy him out of this. I mean, this is bad news.
I don't even think morally the Rays always try to keep a clean ship, and I just don't think from a moral standpoint or an optics standpoint, I just don't see him bringing him back at all. I'm kind of with you. I think you might have to start cutting this guy loose pretty soon, because the more this information gets out, it was so quiet for so long, but it seems like every day we're just getting hit with an anvil shot of news here, and it's all bad. It's all really bad.
Sometimes when you get something off the field and it comes to and turns into a character issue and an optics for the vision of the club, you release a guy, maybe you don't have all the information or the system doesn't play out, and then he'll come back later and someone will revive his career, maybe a rival perhaps. But I think even other major league teams are watching this situation going, no way, not touching that.
Yeah.
So it's sad. This guy was beginning to be marketed by Major League Baseball. He and Wander and Randy Arozarena last summer started to appear, in the promos and stuff like that on MLB Network and for things like Fox, their coverage of baseball. So he was inching in that direction and closer and closer to a true breakout. It's unfortunate. I don't think he's gonna play baseball again here. I really don't. It's sad to see. And that video today was disturbing.
Yeah, startling to see him in cuffs.
I'm gonna wrap my arms around Junior Caminero though, because he looks like a Wander type prospect coming in. And I know he can play shortstop. He doesn't have the glove that Wander does necessarily, and certainly not Taylor Walls, but I think this, you would probably agree, Dan, this accelerates his timeline a little bit, and we could definitely see him being on that opening day roster for sure.
Absolutely it does, and I don't have a problem accelerating him like I did the way they had to. They didn't have a choice. They had to accelerate Taj Bradley. That was, I was like, they're stuck. This is different. Caminero can play. He just needs major league reps. He needs to see all the ballparks. He needs to face the pitching. And he's going to be a good one. So if I'm the Rays, I move forward from this point. You guys are ready to run your club.
Absolutely, I totally agree. By the way, go get some free agents. Go spend some of that $500 million you got
absolutely
put away there, Stewie, and get this team desperately needs pitching. It needs offense. I mean, it just needs a lot right now, in my opinion. Hey, we haven't talked to you since the Orange Bowl debacle / travesty for FSU, just on so many levels, so bad. And I think for me, what was worse was just the ignorance, on social media of, FSU has a bad culture. They don't want to play for Norvell, and look, they didn't show up for him. Like, Jesus Christ, seriously. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts?
My thought was, I hated to see the opt-outs. I didn't like it personally, but that you got to understand in college sports, particularly football, that is a personal decision based on your business sense of your future, and I will never question someone who opts out in the name of their health. No one on that team wanted to quit because we're going to get beat by Georgia. You're an idiot if you think that. You're an idiot. Trust me, every single player on that team wanted to state its case by giving Georgia a game, maybe even upsetting Georgia. And then the whole time we knew Georgia was mostly intact, at least the key names for them. But you can't. This is the system we're talking about here. It's low-hanging fruit, and quite frankly, very lazy for a college football fan of another team, especially a rival of FSU, to laugh at this at their expense. And that's fine. Laugh, have your fun. But if this is any program, it's the same exact thing. And Kirby Smart's comments after the Orange Bowl were dead on. He was as heartfelt as he could be for Florida
he was
State
pissed.
in that post game. He said,
he was pissed.
the game didn't deserve that. the kids on that sideline, he was pointed, he meant the FSU sideline, did not deserve that. And the sport has to be fixed. And it's easy to shift dates for the portal. I don't understand. This started with all of these mid-season firings, I think, of head coaches. And then you're stealing coaches in mid-season and you're jumping on recruiting immediately. And teams found out that, well, I haven't played my rivalry game here Thanksgiving weekend yet, and I'm already getting out recruited.
Right.
Because his other teams has crapped on the season, is moving forward, and they're taking my guys.
Right.
And that's where this all started.
Yep.
And then the early signing period accelerated that.
That's just dumb. That's so stupid.
Portal coming, open right after these conference title games. It was. If you looked at the portal, this is not a Florida State culture problem. The portal has 1,000 guys.
Yeah.
1,000. Even Alabama just had guys leave because they're within their 5 days.
Well,
after
Georgia had
game.
15 guys. 15 guys going to the portal.
Yes.
I mean,
so it's good for them, but it's just the system is completely flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the unrelated side of this is the lawsuit.
Yeah.
On the ACC, and I think it's hysterical that now that they're the Attorney General put out the request for all the paperwork that's in some
show
vault,
notes,
some vault in Charlotte, North Carolina.
What is that?
I want to know how dumb this Jim Phillips guy is. Who has he surrounded himself with? And I would love to
ESPN lackeys.
I would love to sit there and go, listen here, Jimmy. If this deal is so ironclad or whatever he called it, then why did you file a lawsuit 2 days before FSU filed theirs? You should be able to sit back with your feet up and laugh at FSU. Why is that? Why is that? This is going to get settled, in my opinion, by the way.
Of course.
I'm not an attorney spokesman.
But they don't. ESPN doesn't want depositions and discovery of their show notes, which will clearly show their narrative to destroy Florida State. They don't want any part of that. They will, and that's going to be the silver lining for FSU. They're going to be able to use this snub, and maybe some things within that ironclad grant of rights that have been let's say fraudulently done, or basically they have broken the contract. They did some things that they're not supposed to do. So I think they'll find that out, and I think they will settle it. FSU will get out of this grant of rights with a minimal exit fee, and they'll be in the Big Ten next year, and they'll be working with Fox.
Well, and that's going to open the floodgates. And I'm also interested. I like to if you can just Google any ACC program you want and ACC grant of rights, and you'll get articles from their perspective. So I was checking out the Clemson articles. Clemson is watching this closely.
Yeah, of course.
And if you notice in the bashing world of right now, it's so in vogue to just bash FSU because they're a bunch of quitters.
Right.
So Clemson is laying low in the weeds, and there's a reason for that. And one of their outs is to possibly pair up with Florida State.
Right.
Once this legal side comes out. And you got the Wake Forest president who came out and backed the ACC, and I laughed. I said, okay.
Of course.
The back of the room has chimed in. Thank you very much, Wake Forest.
Living off the dole.
It's like Florida State's taking the heat because they're acting on the initiative because they are the leaders of the conference. But like Clemson, Miami, Louisville, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, the schools in the conference who are serious about football understand that they have to get out. And that's all going to come to light. That's why you don't hear it, like you said, from those schools, but you hear it from Wake Forest, who is riding the coattails.
Right.
And getting that check. The same check that Florida State gets, despite the fact that Florida State is the one that brings in majority of the revenue to the conference.
This is pure survival. And when you look at the numbers, it is gaudy, the difference, to the point where you're like, how can you guys come up with this deal in 2015? You guys are idiots. And I think that, then you got the talking heads like Paul Feinbaum, who said that Florida State had the arrogance last summer to want to start this process. And I'm like, that's a little irresponsible, dude.
Yeah.
You, of all people, he reads paperwork. He's an attorney, I believe.
Yeah.
And he should be able to read this and go, somebody had to initiate this because this conference can't survive. And starting next year, I guess the Big 12 deal is coming up next, right? I don't know what the order of it, but to be off when the Big 10 teams are making over $60 million and the SEC is right below that, and the ACC can't even touch that.
Yeah,
it's in tatters. It's in tatters, and it's unsustainable. And it's going to become a G5 in a hurry. I think whenever the settlement happens, you're going to see a mass exodus. That's by settling, the ACC loses.
So. I agree. And it's their own fault. And I think, Jim Phillips, may have been in bed with ESPN to get that deal and that they make hundreds of millions of dollars on. So we shall see. All right, Dano, thank you for your time. As always great to catch up with you. Tell me what's coming up on News Channel 8 this week.
Monday, National Championship Day. The lovely Eileen Natchick's going to go. She's going to head over to Tampa Bay Tech, and she's going to hang out with Jason Roberts, Michael Penix's high school coach, and very close person in the family. So he's someone who helped this guy navigate not only going to Indiana, his decision, but kept him motivated through his injuries, and really I was also helped kind of guide him through the transfer process and make the right decision. And this Penix story is fascinating.
It really is.
It is a true family ordeal. One of my neighbors down the street from me works for the Postal Service, works with his uncle.
Nice.
And we were talking about Michael Penix the other day, and he says, well, I'll tell you what, if he's anything like his uncle, this kid works his ass off because the uncle is a grinder in the office, and it just gets his crap done and keeps his head straight. And so he's been surrounded by people that are
good people.
Yeah. So
it's a rarity.
It's a great story. It's a great story. We'll see what happens Monday.
And maybe he'll be the Bucs quarterback someday. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Exactly,
I just hope he wins the national title. I know. I can't stand. I will not be able to watch Jim Harbaugh on the dais.
The post game.
Yeah.
In the post game with that.
Put the sash across him for the beauty pageant winner. Good for you. You guys.
His post game press conferences where he's like this the whole time.
Such a weirdo.
It's like, I'm like, dude, you're not thinking. It's like, remember when you used to talk? Remember you talked to Steve Eiserman and he would have that look on his face?
Yeah, like he's going to kill you.
But you knew, you're like, oh my God, the wheels are turning. This guy's 5 moves ahead of me. He's 5 moves ahead of me. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Not with Harbaugh. Harbaugh, I'm like, God, I think the guy's searching for the words.
He's gone cuckoo. That dude's gone cuckoo. Go. I hope the Chargers hire him, the Raiders, whoever. Go get him. That'll be fun. All right, Dano, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you down the line.
Okay, boys. Be good.
All right. We'll take a quick break. Come back on the other side. We are brought to you by the great folks at Synovus Bank. They are a big bank with a very, very local feel, folks. Just head on in there. Ask for my good friend John Acosta, who's been in the local banking business since 1983. They've got tons of people with that type of resume there. That's why they're the big bank with the local feel. You'll get the personal service that you deserve. If you're looking to move your personal account over there, they got a great app that makes banking really, really easy. If you're looking to move your business banking over there, they'll partner with you. And if you need a business loan or what have you, give you the resources to make your business grow. That's what banking is all about, right? So check them out, Synovus Bank at synovus.com. Tell them JP sent you. All right, quick break. We'll come back on the other side and then talk some Bolts. Big win last night, and what does that mean for them going forward as they get set to take on the Boston Bruins next? Stay with us. JP here from my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses,
You will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get-acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. The holidays are engagement season. Where better than the Gold and Diamond Source to get that special ring? Of course, the customer service is impeccable. Julie and Steve Weintraub are the best of the best. And only natural diamonds, of course. It takes billions of years to form natural diamonds. You don't want something that was made in a factory 2 weeks ago. She certainly doesn't. And why deal with the mall madness when just one trip to the Gold and Diamond Source gets you all you need? None of the parking hassles, no nothing. The Gold and Diamond Source has the perfect gift for everyone. And don't forget to shop the Emilique from Emily Johnson Weintraub, which is an affordable gold and diamond jewelry collection. It's always stylish and unique, and Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching modern geometrical shapes. And don't forget, for the holidays, only 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. And don't forget, for the holidays only, 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. So this holiday season, keep it local and make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thediamondsource.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this Friday before the Bucs head to Carolina to take on the Panthers in a must-win scenario. I mean, good God, 2-14, losing by 26-0 to the Jags last week. There's no way they lose this game. Or
No
is
way.
there? Or is there?
I just saw Baker Mayfield is he's at practice today.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Seems like he looks healthy. Doesn't look limited.
I'm looking at some of the video here that Matt Matera put up from the Pewter Report. If you guys can see it right there. That's Baker throwing. I mean, he's just throwing easy stuff, but it looks like he's loose and, we can't see too close if he's cringing or what have you. So it looks like he's going to play. What a tough son of a bitch, man. That hit he took was. Woof.
And that's why I love the guy. I mean, he takes a hit. He throws a pick, whatever it is. He just seems to bounce back and get back up. I mean, it's so funny how there was like discussions about his maturity and stuff like that. And it's been completely different for him here in Tampa Bay and just the leadership that he showed. And I remember that article, I think Stroud might have wrote it last week about Wirfs talking about Baker and how his relationship is different with him than it is with Tom.
Yeah.
And remember, Wirfs was like the first guy that Baker was hanging out with, like at Rays games and Lightning games early.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's got that locker room. And I think
it's
that's
just
a big reason why you probably don't want to let that guy get out the building.
Exactly. I mean, that's such a big part of football, right? Is to have a leader, especially as your quarterback, that everybody believes in. Look, we know Baker has a ceiling, right?
Correct.
Maybe, a little bit lower than a Michael Penix and some of these other young players, but you never know if these young players are going to assimilate to the NFL, if they're going to be able to handle the pressures. You just never know what their maturity level is going to be like. And for Baker, you already know that he's won over the team. I think he's won over the city. He's a great his personality matches the blue collar personality of this city. We've talked about that. And I think that's hard to find. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go out and sign Kirk Cousins to, a $50 million a year contract? No. I mean, is he going to be markedly better than Baker Mayfield? No. Are you going to go get Justin Fields? Does he have a higher ceiling? Yeah, probably, but also has a lower floor. You don't know if he's ever going to really get it. He's right this year. He's at 2,100 yards, which is not a lot.
I've
15
seen people,
touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
I've seen people throw out Russell Wilson's name because of the relationship with Dave Canales, but
no.
He looks a bit over the hill at this point.
Is he markedly better than Baker Mayfield?
He's not better than Baker Mayfield right now.
Hell no. I don't know. His numbers were really, really good this year. What, 28 and 6?
He is a case where you can't box score watch as much because if you watch them play, it's chaotic. It's a bit chaotic. And
he's 66% completion percentage, 3,000 yards, 26 and 8, 6.87 yards per attempt. Those aren't terrible numbers. I mean, those are actually pretty damn good numbers. But again, like his personality, is he going to win over the locker room like Baker? I don't see it. Russell's just become this kind of inauthentic dude where, which is the exact opposite of Baker Mayfield. So, going into next season with Baker, are you super excited is your quarterback going to lead you? Is he going to have MVP numbers? Probably not, but you don't need that to win.
I was going to say, and this is important for the scope of the Bucs being a franchise for the last 50 years, he's not going to be like the problem.
Right.
For the reason why the Bucs are losing games. Like, I'm confident Baker Mayfield is that. And if you, and I said this, like, I think after the 3-1 start, and then they had the bad game against Detroit and people were freaking out. In the Bucs history, Baker Mayfield is probably the third best quarterback they've ever had. It's probably Brady. And then you probably give a nod to Brad Johnson because he won that Super Bowl.
Yes.
And then after that, Baker probably right there with Jeff Garcia and some others. That's it.
He took him to the playoffs.
And he's
Brian Greasy.
And all he has to do is throw for 93 yards in this game, and he'll be the third 4,000-yard passer in the history of the franchise next to Brady and Jameis.
Yeah.
I mean, as for stepping in the situation that he did, which is like impossible for most, and you see what happens with the Patriots, replacing Tom Brady, I think he's way over exceeded the expectation.
Yeah, and if you project to next year, if you bring back Mike Evans, which I'm pretty sure they're going to do, and you got Godwin and Evans, Godwin a little bit healthier as he, continues to get back from the 2 torn ligaments, right? And then you get some. It looked like even last week that Trey Palmer is kind of developing into a good number 3. David Moore has shown some things that you could do. Clearly, Rashad White is going to have over 1,500 yards from scrimmage. You've got some weapons, and I think you're going to significantly upgrade the offensive line in the offseason. I would be shocked if they don't get either draft a center or get a free agent at center to replace Hainsey, who's just not good, and probably another guard, a left guard as well. So I think your offensive line will be better next year. You're another year, and this is what consistency brings you, right? Is another year in the same offense with Mike Evans, with Godwin, with all these guys. I mean, that's
it depends.
huge.
It depends what the scheme looks like next year because Dave Canales, unfortunately, is just not guaranteed a job here next year either. If Todd Bowles gets let go, that puts Dave Canales in a tough spot, doesn't it? Where there's been some good things from him, but there's also been some bad things, as we saw last week. And, you have to wonder about that. Baker's played in so many different systems, and he thought he was get stability. Who knows? Dave Canales might be one and done. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he could be. I think you would.
And I'm not giving him the head coach. I don't think he's a head coach yet.
No, I don't think he's
not
ready.
there. He's not there yet.
No, but I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios that you could look at. And God, please, I don't want Bill Belichick being one of them.
Oh, you saw the report, right, about the NFC South teams looking, and there's the natural connection between Jason Licht and Bill Belichick.
Don't do it.
I can't. Do it. I can't have that. I just can't. Do it.
I can't either. I don't see it. You would have to, obviously Jason Licht is not giving up personnel decisions. I mean, if you say, come in here and fix our defense, I don't know. I just don't think it's a good fit. I just don't think it's a good fit. I think he's going to end up in I think the Chargers have already got to deal with him, to be quite honest. I think he's out of New England, and I think he's going there to because the Chargers are, they're just a terrible organization.
But they never pay up. They never pay up for coaches, though. This would be really outside their comfort zone to do that.
Well, I don't think they're going to pay a lot. I don't think Belichick is that in demand, to be honest. And I think Belichick just wants to go and get the all-time record. I think that's his motivation. Does anybody believe that he's going to somehow turn the Chargers into, this? I don't know. It's an interesting thing because Staley just seemed like such a knucklehead, and the roster looks good. Keep him out of the general manager's chair and say fix the defense and let somebody else figure out the offense. But he's not like that. He's a control freak. So I don't know. I just let that be the Chargers.
Let that be somebody else's problem.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, if Belichick came here, would he accept Canales as the offensive coordinator? I don't think so. I think he'd want to do his own thing. I think he'd want to be in control. Yeah. And I think you'd have to give him lots of control in order to get him to come here, because he's not coming to some place where he doesn't have a whole lot of control. I just don't see that happen, even under Jason Light. I don't see it.
Get through Sunday, though, and if they win that game, then none of this means anything. So
I don't know.
The flip side. I mean, I know some people think he needs to win a playoff game to stay. I know that, but
I agree. I think that's true.
Which would require him beating a Philadelphia team. Which, I mean, to be fair, they're not playing well right now. Mm-hmm. And there's some rumblings that Sirianni might surprisingly be on the hot seat. But I don't know. I know the division stinks, but winning the division 2 years in a row is, I don't know. It's still tough to just say like, that didn't matter. So goodbye.
Yeah. We'll see. It's like I said, after the Jaguars win, everybody was giving out contract extensions to Bowles and Baker. And I'm like, let's just hold on here, not be prisoners of the moment. Let's see how the Saints game goes. Let's see if they finish this off. Because if they lose these last two, everybody's gone. I don't even know if you bring Baker back. I think you should, but who knows?
Still bring him back.
Yeah, who knows? They made the Glazers may just want to blow it up. Say we're going to go get a new coach. He's going to pick a new, bring in a young quarterback on a rookie deal, and we're just going to start all over. I don't think that's a horrible idea. But I think,
they might want to go big game hunting because that's been in their DNA. Whether they land the guy or they don't, historically they go big game hunting. And they saw when they went big game hunting, and of course Jason Licht had a lot to do with this. When they landed Bruce Arians, they saw the impact that had.
Right. But I just think the game has passed Belichick by. I just really do.
Oh yeah, I'm not really mentioning Belichick there, but but that'd be a crazy timeline we'd live in where Brady was the Bucs quarterback, and then 2 years later, Bill Belichick's the Bucs head coach. That would be the most insane timeline ever, and I don't want to live in it. By the way, I don't.
No, I don't either. And then there's been rumblings of Mike Tomlin leaving Pittsburgh. I mean, can you imagine?
I got to tell you, I'm not on the Mike Tomlin train either.
Why is that? Not.
I think that Mike Tomlin has. First of all, I think he's definitely maxed out his time in Pittsburgh, but he's another guy that's very stuck in his ways. And even though this guy just always goes over 500, like, okay, cool. You go 8-8 every year. You go 9-8 every year. He's only won a playoff game in 4 of those 17 years in Pittsburgh when he had one of the best, the third best quarterback in that conference for almost 2 decades in Ben Roethlisberger.
True.
And the personnel decisions this year from him are baffling, absolutely baffling. And I don't think there's the locker room seems a little bit funky to me in Pittsburgh now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He's another guy that I think we concede so much control to, and I don't know if you're going to get the same Tomlin results that you got, 10 years ago.
I guess because
it's better than Todd Bowles. Let me just put that out there. Yeah. But I still think that the long term, I'm still on if Bowles is gone, I like the young hotshot OC. That's, up to tune with the modern game.
But I also would say let's keep Canales. Bring in Mike Tomlin, fix the defense, but just get some fire under this team. Get some fire and get some juice. I just think this team doesn't have leaders that provide that. The captains are very, for the most part, very stoic, lead by example guys. They're not fire starters. And if you don't have it in the players, you got to have it in the coaching staff. And I don't see that. So I think that's something that they need to upgrade in the offseason, either by players, free agents, or the coaching staff. So I think it's a must if you're going to win in this league. I'm going to get to a couple comments here before we get to John Cooper from last night. Durfmeister, welcome in. I have not seen you comment before, so thanks for coming to the show. So, do you have confidence because they have shown the ability to be very good? It's less about, quote, motivation and more about details executed well for a full game. I agree with you. I mean, details win the game. But to me, part of motivation is focus, intensity, which we saw none of last week. I mean, there's none of. And that's something that this team lacks from time to time. But I agree with you. That's go out and execute. Like, go out, get a good aggressive game plan and execute it. Just whether it's Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield, it looks like it's going to be Baker. This should not be a game that's in question. It just should not, even though it's a 4.5 point spread.
And don't play with your food. I say this all the time. When you play these bad teams, like we said it earlier, don't give them any hope. Don't give them any life.
Yes.
I know Dave loves to run that ball and be stubborn with it, but if you get signed, and they're probably going to come out and try to run the ball, okay? That's just what they typically do.
Yeah.
But if you're not getting any push or any penetration, and you have another stinker like last week, I think it was 8 carries for 8 yards in that first half.
Yeah.
Don't get so married to it. At some point, you just got to just let it go. You have to let it go. That's the key.
Yeah, this team is not a power running team.
Right, and that thing you mentioned, by the way, about being the most predictable team in the NFL. I mean, we've been saying that all year. It looks like that, and we finally have like a stat to back that up. And a lot of the worst teams are actually where the Bucs are on that graphic, and the best teams, guess what? They're on the other end of the spectrum.
Exactly. Yeah, I retweeted this out, folks, and you can just go to my Twitter at FanstreamJP. And it shows the teams that go run, pass, first down, run, second down, run, pass, how many times they've done it, and what's the percentage of their drives that they do it. The Bucs are far and away the most, even though their third down conversions aren't bad. Yeah. It's still so predictable.
Yeah, and there was another graphic that came out too that I took note of in regards to what the Bucs are, their strengths. The only 2 teams in the NFL that are worse right now at run blocking are the New York Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's it. You want to know the only teams in the NFL that are better than the Bucs at pass blocking? The Kansas City Chiefs, Minnesota Vikings, the Buffalo Bills, and the Philadelphia Eagles. That's it. So your strength is clearly pass blocking. Yeah. Your strength is passing the football. And so when we've seen Baker get the chance to do that, he's actually been really solid for you.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like Durfmeister said, use the pass to set up the run and not vice versa. And it's clearly the strength of this team. And that's why, just the fans were going nuts in the stands last week, just booing. I think they're down 20-0. And the first two plays in the fourth quarter are runs up the middle. It's like, what are we doing? Like, it's just insane. All right, the Bolts get a big 4-1 win last night at the Minnesota Wild. Darren Radish, of all people, the young defenseman, gets 2 goals, knocks in a rebound for his first, and then a nice little gets into the play, goes behind the net, and it does a sweet little wraparound. Hedman scored on from the point on a power play, and they get an empty netter. Vasi was really good in the net, and they get a win for the first time in Minnesota since, gosh, I think the 80s. So it's been for forever. Declan Carlisle made his NHL debut last night. Declan Carlisle brought up from Syracuse. And so John Cooper kind of alluding to him in this soundbite. Here's Coop from after the game last night.
Three of them tonight. I know that's the focus for your group, but how did you accomplish that?
Well, we had them down by the net, so that was a big part of it for us tonight. We had Heddy's, the power play scored a few from up there, but we were moving around a little bit, and Ratty made some great plays down there, so it was great to see these kids rewarded.
Tonight, he got down low. Was that because you guys were moving so well, replacing each other? Because usually we see a shot from the point.
Yeah, it's just we got to generate a little bit more offense, especially from the back end. And that was in our game plan tonight. It worked out well for us.
What did you think of the performance of Declan Crosby?
Kid did great. That's really exciting times for everyone when somebody gets to play in their first NHL game. But it's a little bit of a pisser for me because I've coached damn near 800 of these games, and he's played in one, and we both have the same amount of wins in this building. So that's it's got something on me, I guess.
Well, I guess so. Is a
Clearly
good luck
he was the
charm.
key.
Yeah, clearly. We talked about this last week. I think the defensive, the blue liners getting more up into the play, getting more active, and it's kind of counterintuitive, but to play better defense, it's almost better to get your defensemen up into the zone and keeping the puck in the zone and being aggressive. I think we saw a little bit of that last night with Radish. And this team just has to be better defensively. And last night they only gave up one goal. I think, the Wild are a little banged up, but that's a big win. You had to get those 2 points on the road, and now you're going to go into Boston before you come home. And Boston lost last night, 6-5 to Pittsburgh, and they've been in a little bit of a funk. So if you can go and steal one from Boston, suddenly it looks like a pretty damn good road trip.
Yeah, and last time those two teams played, that was next to the Vegas game was the game of the year that we've seen for the Lightning. Yeah. And it always is between those two teams, so that's going to be great. And, I've been waiting on the Lightning to go on one of these runs, like I've been saying, and it feels like they're close. I mean, even in their last 10, I think they're 6-4. And some of those losses, I actually like the way they played. Like even the other night in Winnipeg, I thought the Lightning played better than Winnipeg.
They did.
I really did. But it was always like, it's been the theme of the year where, whenever they make a turnover or a mistake, it just always ends up in the back of their net. It's just been one of those crazy, crazy years. And on 5-on-5, they just haven't been able to score. And last night they were able to get it. And I don't care who it comes from. I'll take 2 from Darren Radish all day.
Yeah,
I don't care. We've been saying it. The Lightning need more out of, it can't just be Kucherov every night. It can't just be Braden Point or Stamkos. It's got to be the other guys. And even, Brandon Hagel, I know it was an empty netter, but for him to just see it go in, 18 games he hadn't scored. I didn't even know that till last night. I was like, wow, it really has been that long. Cirelli's gone, and Cirelli does this a lot. I think he's at a 12-game scoreless streak too, so hopefully it turns around for him. They just got to get more depth scoring, I think, bottom line. I think that's also next to the defense one of their bigger issues. I think Vasilevsky is starting to settle in to the season, so I'm cautiously optimistic about it. They're hanging around. I think they're like 2 games or 2 points out from Toronto. Toronto does have 4 games in hand, so you're going to have to make up ground, but I think they're hovering right now. They're there.
No, they're creating chances. Their puck possession has been good, but it's like, they can't put it in the back of the net 5-on-5. It seems like every night when they lose, we're like, wow, this goalie was really, really good tonight. This Hellebuck was really, really good tonight, or, whomever it's going to be. And, you just like, at some point that's got to turn, right? The expected goals for and against.
Yeah.
They've lost, I think, the last 4 games or 3 games, I think it is, their expected goals have been better and more high danger chances than the other team, but you're just not winning the games. And you expect that to regress to the mean, and they'll start banking those points. But, also it's like, okay, when are we going to see this consistency winning come back? We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and until further notice, I don't see this team as I don't think they're a cup contender. I think that's just I think that's the brutal truth right now. They're not there. They're a fringe playoff team.
Yeah.
That's kind of what their level is right now.
And we've seen fringe playoff teams win the cup, by the way.
Right. I mean, even hell, I don't think anybody expected Florida to go on the run they did last year. So I'm not saying it's impossible.
They get in on the last day. They get in on the last day, in a fluke, and they go all the way to the finals. I'm
not saying it's impossible. I just don't see the same. Depth on this team that I did before, and I think that's what's separating them right now from the top of the pack. But they're still. Not exactly where you want them to be by any means, but, we said all along the goal was to kind of just hover around the playoff area. I think right now they're actually in the second wild card spot, so they're there.
Yeah.
And hopefully you go on a run in the second half and create some space.
Yeah, they played a few more games now than some of their teams that are trailing them. So, Yeah, by no means are they, can they exhale at all? They're just going to have to scratch for every point all the way to the playoffs. So, and I think,
And I wonder how that's going to be different come playoff time if they get there, because the last couple seasons they've been able to, I don't want to say coast necessarily, but
right,
they haven't been chasing like, okay, we're going to try to get 120 points and we're going to try to win the Atlantic.
This year.
You're going to be chasing, and night in and night out, you're going to have to actually play really, really hard.
Maybe that'll help
chasing these teams.
Maybe
it'd be different, but it's a different philosophy from the last few regular seasons.
And also, with the salary cap being where it is, they've got no room to maneuver. But excuse me, you can trade dollar for dollar. And does Julian Brisebois, make a move? Does he trade someone of high value?
Well, did they put it? Did I'm not mistaken? Did they put Sergachev on the LTIR?
Yeah.
So doesn't that open up?
I don't know if it was long term.
He was headed to the LTIR. That did happen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I have to, I guess, brush up on the specifics of it, but I thought in the past, because the Lightning have used it, that opens up salary.
Yeah, but if you make a huge trade, a big trade, you bring that salary in. What do you do when Sergei comes back? And he's going to be back. So you can't
unless you just hold him off all the way.
Yeah, well,
like you did with Kucherov.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, and go get someone on the blue line that is not only maybe better than Sergei, but also is, brings that fire that I think this team is missing a little bit. Yeah.
They need grit. It doesn't have to be somebody necessarily more talented than Sergei, or more like offensively capable. They need a grinder. And like I said, they're always going to be looking for a Ryan McDonough replacement. It's hard to replace those guys. They're still looking for that. Like the Eric Chernak types, the McDonough types that they've had in recent years, the grinders, the David Savards, like a David Savard. If you can find a profile like that out there, I think that would go a long way. I mean, there was a game the other night they had to play with 5 defensemen.
Yeah.
That sure as hell ain't sustainable.
No, it is not. No, absolutely not. All right, we'll take another break. We'll come back and talk some college football. I saw an interesting thing yesterday about revenue, in-stadium revenue for all college football teams. So I want to get to that. Some NIL news as well. Transfer portal. A lot of the FSU's have been hosting a lot of different guys from Alabama and some other places. So we give you some of those names. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Their after Christmas sale is on. Pick up some great deals. The selection is fantastic. A lot of times you go in there and it's kind of picked over. Not at the Gold and Diamond Source, folks. They have the best inventory out there. So if you got some of those gift cards or, Visa gift cards or whatever, or cash for the holidays, you want to buy something sweet and shiny, it's the Gold and Diamond Source. They got a great selection of Rolex watches and Baller watches, which you can, buy for yourself or even as an investment. So check into that as well. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Back in 3. Stay with us.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now. But JP, rates are at 8%. That's true. But I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high 6s. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy
Now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero, because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386-722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio, and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show on this Friday as we get set to watch the Bucs and Panthers this Sunday. The Bolts will be in Boston on Saturday night. That'll be a fun watch. And, of course, we got the national championship game coming up on Monday night. So head on out to the Patio. Great place to watch all these games, folks. You want to watch the Bucs game on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Going to be a beautiful day. Weather should be good. So head on out to the Patio and watch it under the palm trees. Beautiful setting out there. Prices are right. Staff is great. So head on over to the Patio. Always the best place to watch these games. Monday night, too. Get there a little bit early. Get your spot lined up and enjoy the great food and drinks at the Patio for the national championship game on Monday night, 421 South McDill.
And be prepared to be there forever because, I cannot stand the Monday start times for these national championships. Like, is
it 9 o'clock?
It always is like at 8:45 or something, and then before you know it, like halftime's at like nearly 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
and it's like, man, like there was like 3 years where like I fell asleep before the end of the game. Truthfully.
Yeah, the breaks and their breaks are like 3.5 minutes long.
Yeah,
NFL breaks are 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes.
Yeah,
but it's just like almost double for the college game, and then they have more breaks.
Yeah, I've seen some like people like talking about like little quick fixes for things like that. And somebody said, I think it might've been Klatt, like, what if like we like change the schedule of college football a little bit and like the national championship was played every year on New Year's Day. And that was college football's day. And you had that game at a good time where everybody could see it and everybody recovered from the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds cool to me because these random Mondays and everything, just so late, I hate it.
Don't like it. No. And it's always tradition that it was, that game was played on January 1st, New Year's Day. And you had the whole lineup of the New Year's Day games building up to it. Yeah, that's great tradition. I would definitely want to return to that. It's going to be interesting, though, this 12-team playoff. They're going to have to, start the playoffs probably mid-December, right? I would like for them to do that. Like the wait, the month-long wait from the end of the conference championship games to the semifinals is just, it's too long. It's too much build up. And then of course you have the portal stuff going on. I was
going to say, you think the portal's crazy now when you have these other games going on that actually are going to mean something in between there. Whew.
Yeah. That's why the portal doesn't open until after the national championship game. That's the way it should be. Get rid of the early signing period. Let's go back to just doing that in February. People have also said, why even have a deadline? Sign a player. Doesn't have to be a day, a national signing day. Just if you offer a guy a scholarship, he wants to take it. You got 20, you have a deadline that maybe at the end, like you can't sign anybody after March 1st or something like that. But just,
Well,
I
at
mean,
least-
if you did, there might be a rush to get everybody in, as soon as possible. I don't know, but you
Well,
got to
these
move.
These things are just too
recruiting
common
and
sense
portal.
for the NCAA.
Exactly. We got to move the portal and recruiting till after the games are over. That doesn't seem like it's very hard to do, right? Because we're doing portal stuff right now.
No, and I'm also really not in favor of moving the bowl games. Like I've seen people say put them at the beginning of the year. I don't think that's the same. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. Do you like that much, putting the bowl games at the beginning of the year?
I mean, we're already doing that to some degree, like the kickoff classics, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, though,
I just wish we could get to a point again where, obviously the obvious take is that these games matter, but like you work to that. Like making a New Year's Six is still would be a big deal, and like we're earning our way into like these games, which are going to be playoff games anyway. So I guess it's really a moot argument anyway, because it's going to fix itself.
Yeah, and I think what you can do is, because that's what 4 games, so 8, 10, 11 games total in playoffs next year. So that's 11 of the biggest bowls, and then you can take all the ancillary bowls and move them to the beginning of the season. I'm okay with that. The Outback or the ReliaQuest Bowl should be part. Is that going to be part of the playoffs?
No,
I don't know, because those are going to be on campus games. The first round is going to be on campus.
I think the first round is just on campus and won't have a bowl game tagged to it. And then at the next round, I think that's when they become like, you'll have the Orange Bowl, the Sugar, the Cotton, and so on. I think if that's how I understand it correctly.
Well, I mean, you could make them quote, bowl games, and just, I know their locations now are different, but the Cheez-It Bowl could be, in Tallahassee as FSU hosts, Auburn or whoever, LSU, and it's the Cheez-It Bowl, because the sponsor would certainly like, these bowl games would certainly like to, but they're kind of attached to the stadiums and the locations now too. So I don't know.
These NFL stadiums that have no character whatsoever for college football. That's what I don't like. And even the national championship, we have Washington and Michigan. And something about that game being played in Houston of all places, just
that antiseptic dome. Yeah,
it's just like, how can we go from the Rose Bowl and now I have to downgrade to this dome in Houston?
I would, personally, you could play the national championship game in the Rose Bowl.
A lot of people are talking about that
at 5:00 on January 1st. 5:00 Eastern time, and just you could do that every year. It always seems like it's a magical game. Something magical happens in that.
Yeah,
in that game.
And the Miami fans can bitch about the what do you call it, the travel, but you're not going to be sniffing that game anytime soon, so don't worry about
it. That's so true. I was checking out our good friend Patrick Burnham from the Osceola, some of the transfer portal guys that are on campus for FSU this week. So there's a lot of activity. They're looking at a lot of offensive linemen. They've got Alabama defensive back Earl Little Jr., who has been on campus this week.
Pat Surtain was his head coach in high school.
Yep, that's right. So that should be hopefully a layup there. Furman transfer offensive lineman Pearson Toomey, 2-time all-conference performer, big kid. So they're trying to get some offensive linemen in there as well. They got an Alabama offensive lineman. What is his Charlotte transfer linebacker, Nikai Hill Green, who I think was an all-conference performer there. They're definitely looking for linebackers. West Virginia defensive end Tamiwa Durajai, and Alabama offensive line Terrence Ferguson, both expected to visit FSU. So once again, FSU doing some work in the portal. Syracuse transfer linebacker Stephon Thompson there. So offensive line and linebackers are high on the list for FSU in the portal right now.
And definitely should be, because, I've been saying this, like the harsh reality is that I don't know how I feel about Florida State's roster for next year. I mean, we kind of got a glimpse of it against Georgia. I would say like getting DJU is a great bridge to the next, whether it's Brock Glenn or Luke Roman Hook. There you go. Mm-hmm. It's a good bridge. I think it keeps Florida State's floor at like a respectable level, like 8-4 or something like that. But at this point, I don't expect them to be in the playoff. I really don't. I think the ACC is going to be a lot better next year too. They just got to get better. Like I've been saying, high school recruiting has got to be better. It just does. And I hope Mike Norvell,
they got the number 6 class.
it's not the number 6 class. It's 11. It's 11. That was the highest one they've had so far. But they got to finish on some of these 5-star guys. They've got to stack classes. And if anything that you could take away from that Georgia game, like I said, Mike Norvell got to see what a true high-end recruiting operation looks like. And I think he's just got to – I think some guys on that staff, specifically Randy Shannon with the linebackers, got to do better or you got to get out. I think that's kind of the way – you need more like Pat Surtains on that staff from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah, I think, they had to do the portal to turn the program around quickly and start getting wins to make people want to go there. So now, your high school recruiting's getting better. So they're doing Norvell's doing exactly everything that he should be doing. And I still think the portal is an important way to build your team. You get better film on guys. You have a better predictability of how good they can play. I just think it just gives you more information. High school kids they're kind of I'm not going to say they're completely unpredictable, but I'd much rather have a year or 2 years film on a guy playing in college than just, high school recruiting. I think you get a better picture of who the player is. I just think
in general, the portal is not going to be as stacked every year. Last year's portal was much better than this year's portal. And FSU was able to take some real talent. I don't see those guys necessarily there this year. So, I don't think you're getting, a Fisk quality in the portal.
Braden Fisk or a Keon Coleman.
Right. You're not getting those guys. So, that's what I'm saying. I think doing better in high school recruiting is going to help you, stack really good years consistently. Whereas if you stick true to the portal and that's it, and you're just kind of, mid-tier in recruiting, I think you'll have, years where it might be a lull a little bit. I think that's basically my point of what I'm getting to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But if you're still getting the best guys, and clearly Norvell has done that, it's a tool. It's a great tool. So
go ahead. No, I just wanted to address the comment because Nelson Cruz said, "JP, what does USF have to do to get love in the Tampa Bay area?" Because I know that's a common complaint from USF fans, and I get it. It's a crowded marketplace. I know that's not a great answer, but it really is. But USF has done a great job this year, and I think we've highlighted that. Where they're going, they are in a great spot. And, we believe in Alex Golish, obviously Byron Brown. So there's a lot to love. They just had their highest recruiting class ever, best in the group of 5. So USF is going to be great. And the more they win, it's just common knowledge they're going to get more attention.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, holding on to Byron Brown was huge. I mean, there's had to be a lot of teams coming after him, and that's your biggest recruit right there is retention. You got to retain the guys that are your leaders on your team. So that was huge for him, and I love what Alex Golish did in his first year. Go to get the bowl win, all that stuff was fantastic. I just don't want expectations to get out of whack like they did, with Jim Leavitt. I think it got to a point where it's all right, 8 wins, 9 wins is not enough. We need to go find a coach that can get over the hump. And I'm like, easy now. You got to still remember where you're at in terms of USF. But their goal right now is to get into a Power 5 conference. And, if the ACC has some openings, they want to jump right in there and be part of this realignment. And I think this year was a huge step towards that. Obviously, the on-campus stadium is a huge step towards that. And they're recruiting. I mean, AG has done a great job recruiting. They have the best class in the conference. So just keep building on the momentum. I think this year's schedule is, I'm trying to remember who their out of conference games are with.
Well, they're going to get Alabama at Alabama.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, that's not going to be fun. But anyway, the one other thing I wanted to mention. So there's, I saw this thing on Twitter, and it's a football stadium revenue per game. Right. And so it's just that's average of football tickets, stadium concessions, parking programs, novelty sales per home game, et cetera, to the athletic department. So Ohio State, $7.7 million. Michigan, 7.2. Penn State, 6.9. Nebraska, $5 million. That's the tops of the Big Ten. The SEC, who do you think leads? Texas, 7.8 million. Texas A&M, 6.4 million per game. Oklahoma, 6.2 million per game. Georgia, 6 million. LSU, 5.9. Alabama, 5.8 million. Florida, 5.3 million. Go to the ACC. The leader, Clemson, 5 million per game. Louisville is second at 2.3. Louisville. NC State at 2.2 and Florida State at 2.2. 2.2. You're at a $3 million deficit per game to the University of Florida. Like you're at a $5 million deficit per game to Texas and to Ohio State and Michigan. Now we talk about media deals, right? But now, and if you're a Florida State fan, you're like, okay, well, I guess our tickets are a hell of a lot cheaper than everybody else's. This is why they're making those changes to the stadium too, to get more premium seating, to get more money in the door. Because that's we talk about the media rights deal where you're talking about 7 home games. That's $20-30 million right there. You're lacking in revenue. The team's you got to do better than that. You got to do better than that if you're Florida State. I don't know how. I mean, it's got to come from your fans, so you may not like that, but you got to do better than that.
Yeah, I wonder how much opponents kind of play a role in this, because obviously those other teams that you mentioned,
huge part,
are playing some more desirable opponents. Whereas you look at Florida State's schedule this year at home, it's Southern Miss, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Duke, Miami, and North Alabama. So brutally bad. I mean, yeah, you're not, those are not marquee matchups. It's not, but I mean, you look at Michigan. So they play, Ohio State every other year, Penn State every other year, but most of their schedule is awful this year. Their home schedule, lots of Bowling Green, UNLV, but they have a long-standing tradition of people buying tickets and season tickets. And they, it's just, there's a scarcity of it, but they had a huge head start on a lot of these other teams, but still FSU's, they got to do better than that. I'm just wondering like how they could be that much lower than Clemson even, so they got to pick that up in a lot of different ways. All right, anything else we missed here today? Oh, by the way, did you see Wemby last night? Wembayama? Probably as exciting a game you're going to see between the 5-29 team and one of the better teams in the league.
That kid is starting to get confidence in his game.
Yeah.
He's going to take, he went up on Giannis. He went up on Giannis. Giannis went to the rim to dunk one in his face, and he just rejected it. I was like, damn. Because, Giannis is so much bigger than him just from a muscular standpoint. And I'm like, he's gonna break him in half. And no, Wembanyama was like, no, get that mess out of here.
Yeah, he's starting to look. He's starting to, like you said, he's getting comfortable. Tough situation on a 5-win team. That's not great, but his performance has been really, really strong under those circumstances, and he's been available. Like you look at his frame and you're like, man, this guy's going to get injured quick.
Right, exactly.
And he's been available. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise to get a really strong NBA game in the early January. And the other one was the late night game was great too. Golden State and Denver. And I mean, Nikola Jokic, I mean, I don't get it. I can't, it defies everything that you would think when it comes to such a sport that's so reliant on athleticism. And it's just, it looks like he's literally just like throwing it like this over his head.
Like a slingshot.
On that game-winning shot. And of course it goes in.
Did you see his numbers, I think, over the last 2 or 3 games? He's 44 for, I think, or 46 for 51. He's missed 5 shots. 5 shots he's missed in like 3 games. Like I think it's an 86 or 87% shooting percentage.
As long
are you kidding me? How is that even possible?
As long as he doesn't fall victim to voter fatigue, he should win the MVP every single year. I mean, nobody's in his class right now.
87%? Wow. I mean, those are, that, and I will watch him play. I
have such an appreciation for his game. And I said this earlier in the year, all these teams in the West, like the Phoenix bringing out another variation of this big 3, which shocker is not working, and Kevin Durant's upset because, of course, the Clippers are actually playing really good right now. But even the Lakers, now there's rumblings that Darvin Ham's going to get fired, and they're under 500. All these teams that are like just trying to create these super teams with these big players, and the Nuggets, which are relatively just homegrown, are just chugging along. And I don't think any team in the West is going to beat them again.
No, I can't see it. Can't see it. All right, we'll wrap it up here. By the way, in case you missed it, Wander Franco did the old perp walk today down in the Dominican Republic, handcuffed, taken into the courthouse, and the charges were read. He's accused of paying hush money to the mother of a 14-year-old who was basically pimping out her girl. He is accused of having a physical relationship when he was 21 and she was 14. It does not look good for Wander Franco. It doesn't look like he's going to be playing baseball anytime soon, and certainly not for the Rays. So sad epitaph to what should have been a long and storied career for a player like him for the Rays. All right, Nick, great job. Our thanks to Dan Lucas, who joined us today. We will be back on Monday to recap what should be a very interesting football game between the Panthers and the Buccaneers. And Lord help this entire franchise if they lose this game, because there's going to be some major changes in the offseason if that happens. We shall see. So have a great weekend, everybody. Great job, Nick. We will talk to you and probably do a little post game as well on Sunday afternoon. Enjoy the games, and we'll see you Monday.